Hey everybody, welcome to my starting guide for the Farthest Frontier. This is going to cover everything you need to know for about the first 2 years of the game. Let's go! New settlement. Pioneer, Trailblazer, and Vanquisher. Easy, medium, and hard. You can also hit the advanced setting to kind of set up the map the way you like it. I'd recommend that if it is your first time playing that you go on either Pioneer or Pacifist mode, as it is a little bit harder. You can also change your map size to small, medium, or large. Large is extremely large. I have heard of people playing for as much as 40 hours before they hit the edge of the large map. You can change your map name. We will go with Avalon. Avalon looks pretty good. And then you can change your terrain. Now, terrain is lowland lakes is the easiest. Arid highlands is the hardest. It goes lowland lakes to plains to Alpine Valley to the arid highlands. Every map has a resource that is low and hard to get, and a resource that is high and easy to get. Lowland Lakes has a lot of fishing locations and a lot of fertile ground. Arid Highlands has a lot of minerals, and it makes it really easy to get your gold and your iron in order to make your advanced tools and your gold ingots, because the game has a lot to do with trade. For today, I'm going to go ahead and hit plains, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, so we've had a chance to kind of scout the area. Well, our people scouted it. We do not. It just kind of gives us an area that is exposed by the fog of war, and we have the option to choose anywhere within this area that is exposed to place our town center. Some things to make this a little bit easier: by pressing F4, it will show you how much resources are in each node, as well as it will show you some nodes that might be hidden. So right here, you can see that we have some boars, we have some hayworth, some berries, we have some greens. Over here, you can see we have a fairly large lake, which includes a fishing shoal. We've got some more greens, some things that we are looking for right off the bat. A hunting location is pretty good. The deer, they'll give hide as well as meat. The fishing is really good, as that will be, those two sources are year-round sources. Things that we should also look for: berries, because they will give vitamin C, fights off scurvy, and then healing root, which will either healing root or patches of herbs, because that is the way our people heal. So we can see some patches of herbs over here, we can see some fishing over here, and we can see some deer over here. This is a fairly solid place to settle. I'm going to go ahead and settle on the far side over here near these boar and these deer. By pressing H, you can bring up the harvest. You can also click it down here. I'd recommend not harvesting berries, getting the trees, the stones, and the bushes. You want to harvest a pretty good area. If you harvest the berries, it doesn't cut them down. It just goes and picks them, but it means that they would be tasked to something that we can get a forager on. And that brings us on to the needs of the people. By pressing B, it brings up the build menu. I'm going to go ahead and close out the town center. For houses, you can see that it requires a town center. It's nice. It does tell you that the town center can be found in amenities and service. You can only build one, which means once this one's built, it doesn't really matter, and it will unlock anything that will unlock. Under food production, we have a hunting cabin. This will give us some meat, some hides, and tallow, which is good for making, well, food, clothing, and soap. Under the forager, we can get things like these willows right here. We can get the greens right here. We can get the berries up here. On this side, which is now under the fog of war, we know that there is some herbs, which are pretty good. Where you place this is not as important as where the circle is. For right now, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this right here. And then once this is built, we're going to show you how to move this. The next thing that I want to build is a fisherman's hut, since we are very close to this school of fish. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw it right here again, right next to the forager. This will be my beginning food. With the food, we still need water. Water is under resources. We're going to go ahead and grab the basic well. Anything that is blue, thankfully they have a tooltip that shows the bonus. So anything that is above about 60 seems to be pretty good. This will supply enough water for about 4 to 6 houses. I recommend one for every 4 houses, and then you can move this in the future, but it takes time to ramp up and actually get enough water to supply your people. So you do want to place this down relatively quickly. These are the first 3 buildings you want to build. If you wanted to build a hunter right now, it is a solid idea. I don't recommend building farms, and I'm going to do a farm tutorial all by itself, because farms are not as easy as some people think, but they take about well, one, they take a lot of labor, and two, they take about 2 years to really get up and going. I don't recommend building a farm. The nice thing about the hunter and the fisher is they're year-round production, where the forager is pretty much late spring to middle of autumn. So there's about 6 months that the forager worked, and there's all year that the hunter and the fisher work. So tab to rotate your building. I'm going to go ahead and throw a hunter there. I'm going to let these build, and then I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to show you how to move their area of influence, as well as then we're going to go into some of the needs for the houses. All right, now that these are all built, by clicking on any of your food production buildings, you're going to see that there is a radius icon up here. And what this will allow you to do is tell your workers where to work. So by moving it up here, you can see that it has some willow, some eggs, nuts, berries, and greens within the area. So we go ahead and move this to right here, and this will allow them to collect from there. For the fisher, we want to do the same thing. We want to go ahead and move the fishing icon to where we see a good area. This area right here is around 220%. There is a possibility that we would be able to get some area a little bit better. Looks like we can hit a 220 right here. And so because we can hit a 220 right here and it's closer, we're going to want to go ahead and do that over this one. But this lake's probably big enough that we could have 2 fishers, which means we could put a fisher potentially over here as well. With these 3 buildings, the forager shack, fisher shack, and then the hunter, we will have enough food for probably around 16 to 18. So we're pretty good on food for the first couple of years. From here, you're going to see that we need firewood. And this is under the build menu under resources. And then we're going to look for a log splitter. Now the log splitter, I should have actually pointed this out. When you hover over at the tools tip, says there's minus desirability. Houses will have some desirability to them. So you're going to want to create an industrial district to kind of keep your undesirable away from your desirable. I'm going to go ahead and throw it over here with my food production because this will probably become my industrial area. Now that we have our fire, this would be food, water, and our heat source. Now we need to start worrying about our housing. For the storage cart, you can tell this to move around. Right now, this is your storage. A lot of times it is just a stockpile in a lot of games. In this, it is a cart. You can actually tell it to move. I'm going to go ahead and move it over there. And from now, I'm going to go ahead and start building houses. Now, houses, you can see that there is a desirability neutral. That means they don't affect it positive or negative, but they are highly reliant on desirability, and it will bring up the desirability overlay when you click on them. If you want to bring it up when you're not in the build menu, by pressing G, it brings up the overlay unless you rebound your keys. Right now, I do want houses. We need 6 in order to upgrade the town center, but we need 3 for our people that we have. And I want to leave enough room between our houses and the town center in order to build a road, some decorations, and a wall. So I want to leave about 4 spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and using the tab, I'm going to rotate this the way that I want it. I want this to face out. I'm going to put one butted up against the back, and then I'm going to leave 2 spaces and place one here and one here. Then they're going to start building those. For speed control, there is some options down in the bottom left. For option 1, we'll set it to half speed. 2, we'll set it to 1 times. 3 to 2 times, and 4 we'll set it to 3 times. The majority of the time I recommend playing on speed 1 or 2. I don't recommend going too much higher, as predators can attack, and when predators attack, just simply hit the space bar. It will pause the game, and then highlight all of your people by just clicking and dragging and then sending them somewhere away from the predator. And when they're all grouped up, mob mentality, it's the best mentality for taking care of predators. We have our houses being built. We have our fire production and our food production. This is everything we need for the first couple of years. From here, what you're going to want to do is start exploring the map. And you can do this by either pressing E, and it will bring up the map selector, and you just pop a little icon, or in the bottom right, you go ahead and click on the set exploration point button. And since we know that there's herbs, because we could see that there was before the fog of war appeared, I'm just going to tell them to explore around the lake, and I'm going to tell them to start exploring out this little bubble a little bit. This will give me a pretty good estimate as to what's around. And this is pretty much everything you're going to do for the first year to 2 years of the game. The next guide that I'm going to do is farming, as farming is the best way of getting food, and that should be coming out shortly after this one. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next one.